it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing my fall TBR. I'm really proud of myself because I'm actually making my seasonal TBR at a reasonable time before the season of the TBR has started, so it's like actually for the full season. I've done I think like a winter. Yeah, I guess this is like the final season of my first year of seasonal TBRs. How exciting, because I did a winter, a spring, and a summer TBR, and basically all of them, I was like already partway through that season. It's like, I should make a TBR. But here we are, I'm actually planning ahead, I'm accomplishing things. How wonderful, fantastic, love it. And I do have some books to talk about. This is actually not even all of them. Let's talk about the books on the list. So the first book on the list is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. I did recently buy this when Indigo was having a sale, and when I was making my fall TBR list, this was the first book that came in my mind because, like, hello, I haven't read it yet and it sounds really interesting, and also it's a murder mystery, and that just gives fall, right? Like autumnal, murder, they go together. It's obvious, I don't need to explain that to you, it's quite clear. I believe this is a very like traditional style murder mystery, and clearly someone is murdered, and the idea is we don't know who it is because everybody in this family has murdered before, so any of them could have murdered again, I think. I like going into books blind, so I just get like vibes, and then how do I read books I like when this is how I pick them? But yeah, I just like think I will like a book based off of the vibe, and then usually most of the time I'm correct. Like, I'll hear a few people talk about it, and then I like on purposely forget what they said the book was about. Okay. So the next book is also another book that I recently bought. I always like forget how tiny mass market paperbacks are, but this is The Alloy of Law by Sanderson, and this is the first book in Era 2 of his Mistborn series. I did read Era 1 of Mistborn all last year, and I put Era 2 of Mistborn on my 23 books in 2023 list, and I did a little check-in of my 23 books in 2023 list and realized that I forgot I made 23 books 2023 list, so I haven't read much on it, and I figured I've actually gotten down my currently reading series to a decent level of series, so I am gonna start a new one, and it's going to be Era 2 of Mistborn, because I haven't read Sanderson in a while. I did like the Mistborn series, and I like his writing because it's very like easily consumable. It's nice to be able to read something that's like high fantasy but like doesn't involve a lot of brain power to read it in a good way. I did get the mass market paperback for this because when I bought Mistborn, I bought the mass market paperbacks because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but then I did like it, so then I had to buy the other two books in the first era of Mistborn in mass market paperback, and now because this is also Mistborn, I wanted to buy in the mass market paperback so they'd all match all of the Mistborn books. And also, Sanderson books are just really expensive, okay, because they're huge, and books are costing too much of my Canadian dollars, so mass market paperback it is. Third up on the list is actually going to be a reread that I have planned, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I recently bought a physical copy of this book. The first time I read it digitally, and I talked about this in my book haul video, where because this book is multimedia and I was reading it digitally through Libby on my iPad, I felt like the format of the book didn't really have the same impact it was meant to, because it kind of got a little wonky with how the multimedia aspects were shown on my iPad screen. And I did really like this book. I'm mad the fact that this fake sticker is here, but that's what we have to live with. So this is a YA murder mystery, and I really liked it the first time I read it. It was really fast paced, it had a bit of like tension and spooky and suspense, the twist was good, and like I said, the multimedia was a fun aspect to it. And I do want to finish reading this series, but I did read this first book like ages and ages ago, and since I bought the first book now, I figured this would be like a good time to like revisit the series and maybe start reading more of the series, right? Logic. Also, again, mystery, fall these things are related. The next book is also a reread, and that is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. That's 2 planned rereads in the fall months. I like kind of tentatively wanted to put the just hold on a second, I'll grab it because I own it. I thought about also putting The Man Who Died Twice, the second book in this series, on my fall TBR, but the point of my fall TBR and like these seasonal TBRs that I make is that I don't want to put like so many books on it that I feel I don't have any freedom to read any other books. And I was getting really excited and putting a lot of books on this list, so I didn't want to put this on there in case like I felt pressured to get to it. I don't know. Like maybe I should have just put both of these on the list, but I didn't. I can't explain it, okay? I only put the one book on the list and it's the reread. So I did read this before I went, like the beginning of the year, I want to say, because I got this for Christmas. So I want to say like January or February maybe I read The Thursday Murder Club, and I did really like it. But like immediately after reading it, I was like, I'm gonna need to reread this because there are so many small characters involved in this plot that you get them confused. It's just gonna happen, and it's kind of like the one, not like the one, but like it's one of the downfalls I think of the book, is that all of the names of characters feel like they just get jumbled in your mind. There's too many of them. They're everywhere, constantly. New characters. And you're like, are you important? Are you gonna be here for 2 seconds? Will you come back later? Because it's a mystery, so you don't know. So I'm trying to remember all the names, and I can't. So I'm gonna reread it, and hopefully I will remember all the names better and follow along a little bit better. But the mystery was good. The main characters are fun. The premise of this book, where it's people in a retirement village who every Thursday have a meeting of this club where they try and solve cold cases, and then there's a real murder and they try and solve the real murder. It's just fun. So the 5th book that I put on my fall TBR is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. And I actually just bought this book, like I ordered it online yesterday because Indigo was having a sale on mugs and I wanted to get some fall mugs, but then I couldn't order them to pick up in stores, so I had to ship them, and there was no way I was gonna pay $8 to have my 2 on sale mugs shipped to me. So I also bought a book, and this was the book, and I decided to buy it because it was also on sale, and also because Ellen, who has been someone I've been watching like all of her videos, but she convinced me, okay, she influenced me. I'm gonna be reading the book. I bought the book, I will read the book, and it's because of Ellen. I'll link her channel down below so you can also watch her videos. She seems like just the nicest person, and she reads a lot of romance, and I want to become more of a romance girly, so I'm taking her recommendations to heart, and I will be reading the books she tells me to read. Thank you. The next few books are books that I'm planning on purchasing during the fall months. I haven't bought them yet, but like they're like the high up on the list ones to buy so I can read them in the fall months, if that makes sense. The first book is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and this is a mystery thriller book. Again, mystery, fall, duh. And I just heard like a lot of really good reviews on this book, and it has like apparently this very interesting like time aspect to it, where it's not like Groundhog Day, but it's like she goes back in time and then like continues like to go back in time, like a day by day thing, and it sounds so enticing. Like I want to read the book, so hence why it's on the list. I will be reading the book, hopefully. That's the plan. I may divert from the plan, but if I follow the plan as I have planned to follow the plan, then I will be reading it. So I'm also planning on buying a Treacherous Curse by Deanna Raybourn, which is the 3rd book in the Veronica Speedwell mystery series. I did just grab the first book off of my shelf to hold up because I like to hold something and do something with my hands when I'm talking, because otherwise I just do a lot of this. I mean, I do a lot of this anyway. So the 3rd book, A Treacherous Curse, I'm planning on buying that so I can read it. I did recently buy A Perilous Undertaking, which is on my shelf. Why didn't I grab it? I don't know, but I already got it once. I don't want to get up again. It's the 2nd book, and A Curious Beginning is the 1st book. I love this series. I read Curious Beginning, the 1st book, the first time in June, July of last year, and then I reread it in July this year, and it was still a 5-star. I loved it. fantastic. Veronica and Stoker are my favorite people. There's like a fun mystery, there's lots of banter, it's historical, like it's just a good time. It's a good time. And then I bought the second book, so I reread this and then I read the second book, and now because I'm like in it again, I'm like obsessed, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to buy the third book now because there's like 8 books in this series. Like I could just keep going. So I also don't think it's over yet. I think there's still gonna be more, and I never want it to end because Veronica and Stoker, it's so good. So this is like another cozy mystery, and again, fall, but also cutting down on the TBR of the currently reading series by reading more of the series that I'm currently reading. We'd love to see it. So after that, I also am planning on buying Dracula by Bram Stoker. I figure fall is like the best time to read this book, and I have never read it before. I've actually never read any vampire books, and I figured I should start with the most famous of the vampire books. I mean like long term, because I feel like some people might argue Twilight is the most famous vampire book, but I have not read that. I refuse to read it at this point because I've spent so long not reading it. And not because I have anything against Twilight, but it's just this thing where like I never read it when it was initially popular, and now it's having like a renaissance and I still haven't read it, and I'm like, you know what, if I haven't read it by now, like it was just not meant to be. I'm not gonna read Twilight. But Dracula was also a book that I put on my 23 books in 2023 list, and since making that check-in video on it, I really tried to put more of the books I put on that list on my fall TBRs because I want to succeed at the things I say I'm going to do. I'm planning to try and read as many of those books because I have read not many of those books, and I don't want to get to the end of the year and feel like a failure. And they're books I want to read, obviously. I put them on the list. I'm gonna hopefully buy Dracula probably in October. Halloween, vampire. It makes sense. I feel like October would be the time. So I'm going to buy Dracula. I'm gonna get like the Penguin Classic paperback, because also, as we know from my bookshelf tour, I only have like one classic book, because it's actually 3 books, but it's a bound up of 3 books, so it's only one physical book on the shelf of my bookcase that I was like, this is gonna be my classic shelf. I made my bookshelf tour video in like February, and I still only have one classic book. And it's not because I don't want them and I don't want to be reading them. I just like, for some reason, don't do the things I want to do. So I'm actually going to definitely buy Dracula, and I'm going to read it, and then I'll have 2 books on my classic shelf, which is, you know, like a 200% increase. Or wait, no, it's a 100. Guys, I went to music school, I don't do math. I'll have twice as many books as I did before on my classic shelf. The 9th book on my fall TBR is Cersei by Madeline Miller. This is also a book that I put on my 23 books in 2023 list, and that is because I read The Song of Achilles. My Song of Achilles book is really beat up because it made a lot of rounds of being handed to a lot of people, and then I got it back, and it's very well loved. I read The Song of Achilles and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to put Cersei on my 23 books in 2023 list, and then now on my fall TBR list, because I've heard some people say that they like Cersei even better than The Song of Achilles. The next on the list is something that like I might read, I might not read. I haven't really quite decided. I'd like to read it, but it's definitely not like a top priority on my fall TBR, and that is Death in the Darkening Mist by Iona Whishaw. That book is the 2nd book in her Lane Winslow mystery series, and I read the first book, I can never say the title of this book, A Killer in King's Cove. Try and say that 5 times fast. But I read this book and it was like fine. Like it wasn't great, it wasn't bad, I liked it. So I was kind of on the fence about if I wanted to keep reading in the series or not. But I did see some like Goodreads reviews where people say the books get better. So I figure I'm not gonna buy it. I'm definitely not gonna buy a book I'm unsure about. But I did see that I could get the 2nd book through Libby, so I might try and read the 2nd book and kind of decide then, like, is this really like an ongoing series that already has 10 books that I want to read or not. The premise of it is quite fun. It is set in the 50s. It's after World War II in rural British Columbia, and Lane is like a retired British spy who's moved to rural BC to get away from all the spy war things, and death like shows up at her door in this book, so she ends up trying to solve this murder mystery, and there's like a detective that like kind of has like this like bantery tension vibes in it. It's a cozy mystery. I didn't feel like the mystery was really amazingly set in this book, just because I feel like the clues were a bit too obvious to find out exactly what was going to happen. I like my mysteries to keep me guessing a little bit more than this one did, but I did like the characters, and it's like this really small town, and all of the people in the small town have really quirky, fun characteristics, and they all have this complicated history. So almost like the mystery of the tiny town and the people in the tiny town was almost more interesting than like the murdered person. So I'm intrigued to be like, what's the next book gonna be? Because also, if this is crazy tiny rural British Columbia, every book can't possibly be a murder mystery, or else there's not gonna be anybody left to be like alive. Maybe they go to different locations. That could make more sense, because otherwise we're getting to like a Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher, Cabot Cove. People can't just keep coming here to die. Like, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, I figured I'll try out the second book, and I'll have a better formed decision on if I want to keep reading this series or not. Because for now, this is just like a series that I've only read the first book of that's still on my currently reading series list, because I haven't fully decided if I want to finish reading the series or not. So I figured the best way to decide is just to read the next book and then have an opinion. I also put The House of Hades by Riordan on my fall TBR. That is the fourth book in the Heroes of Olympus series. I'm actually currently reading The Mark of Athena right now, which is the third book in the series. I'm not like loving this third book as much as I've loved all the other Riordan books. I don't know why. It's just like not hooking me in the same way. I'm still liking it, obviously, and I still like the characters. So I'm gonna keep reading the series because I want to read all of the Percy Jackson related books in like that whole universe. So that's on the list. And then the last book that's on the list, and this one is really a maybe. And it's really a maybe because it's the fourth book in the inheritance cycle. This is the first book, Aragon, and the fourth book is called Inheritance. But the reason that this is a maybe is because I don't want to spend $40 on a book, but if I want to read it, I feel like I need to buy it because I own the other 3 books, and I don't want to only own 3 of the 4 books, but I own the other 3 books in hardcover. Not because I bought them in hardcover, but because these are the books from like my childhood that my sister was reading, and my family apparently bought them in hardcover. I'm assuming way back when they first came out, and hardcovers were $40. Like, excuse me? $40? Like, I want to read the book, so I want to buy the book so I can read the book, and I want to own the book that matches my other books, but I just can't make I'm just not ready for that purchase yet. I'm not mentally in a place to be buying that book. So ideally, I would like to find the courage to purchase that book and then read the book and then be up to date on the series. But like, the reality is I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. But Inheritance by Christopher Paolini, the 4th and final book in the Inheritance cycle, because the 5th book that's coming out is like post Inheritance cycle, right? It's like years later, so I'm not counting it. It is a companion novel. But if I finish the 4th book of this series, then I'm going to be done the series, and then I can take it off my currently reading series list, and if I don't buy the book, it's gonna haunt me. But I don't want to spend $40 on a book. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it right now. I could buy other books, and I could get multiple books for the same price as that one book. So I'm hoping that like maybe Indigo will have some kind of sale, and then it won't be $40 because it'll be on sale, and then I can buy it for not $40, and then I can read it and then like solve these problems. But for now, Inheritance is the 12th and final book on my fall TBR, and I do not know if I'm going to be reading it or not because of all of the, I'm not going to say it again. I've already said it 3 times. You get what it is. You understand. We're on the same page. That is my fall TBR. 12 books. I feel like September, October, November, 12 books. Yeah, I can read 12 books in 3 months. And I think it probably will still leave a little bit of room to read some other books. Will I read all of the books? Unsure, undecided. But those are the books I put on the list, and those are the books I will be picking from to read in the near future. There we go. We're going to be reading more of my physical TBR. We're going to be reading more of my 23 books in 2023. We're going to be reading more from my currently reading series list. We're achieving all the goals at the same time, okay? So I hope you've enjoyed. This has been a little like chaotic. I really got into like my rant mode there at the end of this, but it is what it is. If there's one thing I'm going to do, it's going to be I'm going to have a rant. I'm going to talk and I'm going to rant, okay? That's what I do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like if you did. And if you haven't liked me, consider subscribing. Let me know some really good fall reads. Also, okay, this is kind of unrelated, but like, where do you guys get cute fall candles? Because I want to become a candle girly, but I can't get the Bath & Body Works candles because they give me headaches, but like other candles don't. It's just like the Bath & Body Works one. I can't explain it. But candles are expensive and I don't want to be spending all of that money on candles, but I want to be a candle girly and I feel like fall is the time to become a candle person. So let me know where you buy your candles. Let me know some good candles to buy for the fall vibes, okay? Thank you. Let me know what's on your fall TBR. Let me know your favorite fall books. Let me know your favorite fall drink. Anything autumnal, you can let me know down below. And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.